So, I think where I want to start is just tell me what your name is, and then maybe kind of how old were you when you started using, and just maybe how it came to be that you needed to access treatment.
My name is Patricia Minoyan, and I was a lifelong addict. I started my first use was as an infant, actually, with my dad. And by the time I was 6, I was using on my own with marijuana and alcohol. By the age of 10, I had discovered cocaine. By the age of 14, I was using daily from 8 in the morning until whenever I went to sleep. And by the age of 19, I discovered methamphetamine. And that's where I stayed the majority of the time until I was 31.
Wow.
What kind of prompted me to get treatment this time around? I looked into it in the past, but it used to be a single mother or married. It didn't matter. If you had kids, CPS took your children. And for a lot of years, I didn't want to lose my kids.
So you didn't seek treatment because you were afraid you'd lose your kids.
But when I got here to Yakima, I got back to Yakima in 98, December of 97. And in 98, I was not so much using, but I wasn't sober either. I had quit getting high, still hanging around the same friends, the same thinking. That was all I knew how to do. And I had continued there for about 6 months, and I relapsed again. And I continued using daily until September of 2001. At that point, I had gotten my very first charge. It was a attempt to possess at a drug force bust. Made a few attempts cutting down, not using meth, used marijuana or drinking. Moved back home to my mom's. I thought maybe if I changed where I was living, that would work. I started going to meetings a little bit, went to detox twice. From that point, I ended up going to a DOTSA in August of 02, and that was my first serious attempt. I was told for the first time that they would not take my children. And I spoke with James Bazzadoni, and he gave me a date for sundown, and I did my first treatment there, and I learned a lot. And if it hadn't been for a DOTSA putting me in there, I really would have still had that same myth and fear for taking my kids, and I don't think I would have quit. And from there, I made it several months, and I did relapse back in February of 03. And May 9th of 03 was my last use date. For the first time, CPS got involved, and I went back to jail on a probation, and I was told for the first time it's not okay, there is help, and I'm not a bad person for being an addict. And I've been clean since then. My AA birthday is May 10th of 03.
So once you graduated from sundown, what did you do during that time? Yeah, you had the relapse. I just heard that part, but what did you do kind of during that time that there was that 7-month stretch? Then you went to jail and had the involvement then, right?
Yes.
And so then after that, what have you been doing kind of in that whole time frame to stay clean? I mean,
from sundown between there and my relapse, I utilized meetings. They had sent me to IOP.
Okay, so you did go to outpatient treatment.
To Merit.
Okay. And was it a DOTSA that helped pay for that?
It was. A DOTSA paid my entire treatment fundings.
Okay.
I did some IOP at Merit, and I didn't really take that serious. I thought I had enough tools, and that was my own. I felt comfortable being sober, therefore I thought I was better.
Yeah.
I took in meetings, and I got to meet a lot of people who were just like me, and it made it easier when I relapsed that I already had these tools from treatment that I would not have gotten without a DOTS's assistance. I had relationships built in the community through AA. So when I relapsed, I got out of jail, and I knew where to go. I knew how to access this. I knew who to talk to. And I felt comfortable saying, I relapsed, I need help. Since that point, when I got out of jail in 03, I was immediately put into the Community Justice Center
Mhm.
through DOC,
Mhm.
and I did outpatient there until December 10th of '03.
Mhm.
And again, it was all ADOTSA funded.
Mhm.
From there, I had a counselor that made it okay to be Trish.
Mm.
Made it okay to tell what I needed to tell.
Mhm.
And she connected me really with a lot of education,
Mhm.
not just on the drug and alcohol, but how to think different,
Mm.
how to find different friends, how to engage AA, treatment, all of the things we
Mhm.
learned, how to put
Put it all
those into a
together.
life
Mhm.
and be productive. And
Mhm.
since that point, I have gone back to school. I
Mhm.
graduated college in '08 with my AA in chemical dependency.
Nice.
I've started here at Triumph. I've been here 3 years come this Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And I'm now a PCAP worker. I get to help moms just like me access ADOTSA, access treatment, access mental health,
Mhm.
learn how to have relationships with CPS, all of the things they need to be productive again.
Mhm.
And it's been absolutely amazing.
So tell me about your family. What as you were kind of, that's a long time of using. Like you just said, a whole lifetime, 6 years old, all the way through. So you had kids while you were using.
Yes.
Tell me how you think that has kind of impacted their lives, and how today, where everybody's at and where you're at with that.
I have 3 kids.
Mhm.
My oldest one, I was able to quit during use,
Mhm.
and she's now 22.
Mhm.
My second one, she does have small signs of fetal alcohol syndrome. I had used prior to finding out I was
I'm
pregnant,
with her. Mhm.
and that was enough to prompt me to stop.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that's been an ongoing challenge with her, and she's 19.
Yeah.
And now I have a 7-year-old, and she was born in total recovery.
Yeah.
My 22-year-old, she is an addict, and when she told me last Thanksgiving that she was pregnant, or thought she was pregnant and was using, she said that because I had already been through this and I was in recovery, I understood addiction, that it was okay. She felt okay to tell me. She knew I would be okay to help her. And now she is coming up on her 1 year sober, and I have a beautiful 3-month-old grandson, which she parents. I have a 19-year-old. She is in treatment through Barth for heroin addiction. And again, I lost her back in '98. Her dad took custody of her from me because I was an addict. This last Sunday on the 24th, he brought her to me because he knows that I know how to access recovery. I know how to apply recovery into my daily life. And I know how to make it okay for her to go to treatment. Yeah. And so I get the joy of watching her get sober.
And I think the amazing thing there that stands out to me is you hid for so many years, even though you knew you wanted to help, because you were afraid you'd lose your kids.
Yes.
And so then you waited how many more years than beyond what your kids are waiting to get the help, because they know that you have been in treatment. So 11 years, I mean,
Yes.
19, 22 compared to 31.
Exactly. When I tell them my story, especially my oldest one, that at one day they used to take your children for being an addict mother or an alcoholic mother. My children have never had to see that, and I'm grateful for that. I'm really grateful for that. And my oldest one has never had to feel that fear. And it's been programs such as Real House that has completely changed the thinking that an addict mom can still be a good parent. They can learn.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And these programs are funded to help people like us. My daughter, now that she knows it's okay to be an addict, and it's okay to have problems, and it's okay to be a mom.
Yeah.
She can still be a good mom. My daughter comes to me with everything. I'm part of her treatment program. I have releases. I talk to her counselor. I talk to her case manager from the DSHS and her funding. And we're part of a team wraparound approach. You can't have just one aspect. You can't have just ADOTSA center treatment problem solved. You can't have just mental health or just CPS. you really do need to have all of the components to work as a wraparound. And that's the biggest part of the success is it has to be available and it has to be okay to talk about it.
So you may have just answered it, and if that's your answer, that's great. But you know, the legislature is going to have a special session coming up here pretty soon, and if there was one or two things that you would want to tell them, in their trying to make decision, you know, you have a family budget. You know that you only have so much money. You can't spend more than what's in the bank account. And obviously the state's in the same situation. And every single department in the state, everybody who receives state's funding is saying, we can't afford more cuts, don't cut us, cut them. You know, so obviously we all need to take our fair share of what's not present. So it is a really tough decision that they need to think about kind of the welfare of our communities, but they also have a certain amount of resources available. So kind of with that in mind, what would be your recommendation when they're thinking about our field? You know, the pot of money that goes to treatment, that helps families, helps individuals. What kinds of things would you like them to keep in mind as they're kind of deciding where to take back some of the money they've been giving?
To me, when they think of individuals, I would really like them to keep in mind that each person deserves the chance to change. Everybody in life has made mistakes. It doesn't matter if it's speeding, drinking, gambling. We all have our addictions and our little things that we have to overcome. We just have a different problem to overcome than other people. When they come to looking at making budget cuts, you know, don't cut just one program. Don't take it out of that field completely. Because I know for me, it took many people in different levels and fields to make me the person I am today. Today I am a mother. I am a daughter. You know, it took a docent to pay for the treatment. It took the treatment counselor. It took mental health to help me learn how to think different, and counseling to learn how to be okay with me. It took probation. It took everybody.
It took everybody.
Everybody, you know. I understand they can't afford to give everybody the full pots of money. But don't completely rule out one pot of money. Cut them all equally. Let us share equally if we have to.
And we'll figure it out.
Please, don't cut it and forget that one person might be the person that you saved their life for. Yeah, because I am that one person that all of these saved. I get to be a mom. I get to be a daughter. I get to be myself. I get to be a lot of things today, not just an addict.
Thank you.
You're